Hello and welcome to BCC Virtual Racing. Tonight's course, the Seaside Sprint, last run on the 18th of June, just under 22 kilometres long, 3 laps of 6.3 kilometres with a 3 kilometre lead-in. The course is largely flat, some rolling lumps and bumps, but nothing to complain about. 24 riders racing tonight from BCC. The competition is likely to be quite intense, being a largely flat course and quite short. It's going to be fast right from the start and all the way through to the finish. The race in theory should suit the larger riders, and the largest, or at least the tallest on tonight's race, is Lancia, who won overall for BCC on the 18th of June. He's not likely to do that today. He doesn't seem to be on the same form that he was, having moved himself from Category A to Category B. Danes is riding well for Cat B and is now approaching Category A territory and may now be the new Mr. 3.99 watts per kilo. And let's not forget Campbell, who continues to forge ahead and perform very well. The real battle tonight, and I think the one to watch, is in Category C, with Stoneham, Collier, Hall and Nixon all riding together. In the last race in June, Collier beat Stoneham by nearly a minute. I'm not so sure if that will happen today. Hall could just hang on there with Stoneham, and Nixon, not to be outdone, has performed very well over the last couple of races. And for this race, a promotion for Measham from Category D to Category C, so it will be interesting to see how well he keeps up with the faster paced competition. 20 seconds before the start and we join the riders in the Category C start pen. All groups are starting at the same time. Key to this race will be a very fast start, and I expect all of the groups to stay pretty much together for the first kilometre or so. 4 seconds to go. And the riders are off in this 22 kilometre Seaside Sprint race. First rider on screen in this aerial shot is Jones at a roughly 245 watts, followed by Collier. As far as I can tell, all BCC riders are in this group. It's beginning to stretch out quite quickly already. Collier pushing well above FTP at this stage, and it's only a 2% incline, so the riders are trying hard. Here's Nixon, over 300 watts, 330 watts. He'll be competition for Stoneham and Collier. With Jury, first signs that the group is beginning to split up. But at only 2 kilometres into the race, the pace is still very quick. Empson just climbing up one of the small rolling hills, and there is Lancia, previous winner. Unlikely he'll do that today. But at this stage he is right up at the very front, along with the other Category A riders. Tom, Brown, Lisa's in there as well. And here we have Danes. This is the bridge that leads up to the finish line. No hills in this race to suit Danes, but I think he could still do very well there. And here we have Tom, Category A rider, embarrassingly beaten by a whole collection of Cat B riders in the last race. Hopefully that won't happen today. Campbell in this group as well. Brown right at the very front of the race. A very strong rider, but not been riding at his best recently, with I think one retirement due to, I think, mechanical issues. Davis in this group as well. And here we have the first split amongst the overall group. In this aerial shot, it's possible to just see the leading Category A and B riders pulling away, but in this group, Nixon, Taft, Langan. Nixon will do well to hold on to the B riders here. Hall, Wales, and I think Stoneham in this group as well. In fact, this group is beginning to split, as is evident in this aerial shot. Stoneham on screen, but no sign of his nemesis Collier at this stage. This course could suit Stoneham very well, largely flat, and he's a very good sprinter, which at the end I think is a slight climb followed by a downhill, then across the bridge. And this is something we don't see too often. Lisa started with the A's. A great Category A rider has dropped back through the B's and is now approaching some of the faster C riders. Must be something wrong there. And here we are with Tamsin and Measham just behind her. Measham, his first race I think in Category C. He has probably already found that the start has been fast and furious, and May at this stage it looks as if he might be actually struggling a little bit to keep up, though his heart rate is up there, so it's not for lack of pushing. Our first look at Lay, category C. Looks as if, yes, no other BCC riders around him, a little bit isolated at this stage. I suspect the fast start has got to him as well. But this is a rider that does hang on to the end, and here we have Brown up the front of category A. It looks at this stage as if the category A riders and the faster Bs will be staying together for the remainder of the race in this group as well. O'Brien on screen now, Davis is in there as well, Tom of course, Lance here still hanging on. Empson will be in there too, and Danes I'm sure is there. With the second main group in the field, Jury seems to be riding well these days, has lost his tendency to go off from the start too fast, too quickly and then blow up. Nixon, Stoneham, Langham, Collier in there as well. In fact, I'm not sure if Collier is there. I'll try and find out where he is. Oh, and our first look at Shannon. I wondered where he's been hiding, but he seems fairly comfortable in there with the Bs and the faster Cs. But at almost halfway through the race now, 10.8 kilometres, 15 minutes. Things will start to happen over the next couple of kilometres, and there is Collier. Hall with him as well, and as far as I can tell they are about 30 seconds behind the group that contains Stoneham and Nixon, just slightly behind. Tamsin by herself and isolated. No sign of Littlewood. He was on the start list, but I haven't seen him in the race at all today. And there's Measham all by himself, but he can see Tamsin just ahead of him. I'm not sure if he will catch her, but he might give it a go. I think he's got the strength to do so, but his Zwift racing experience is not there quite yet. Collier and Hall seem to be out of this particular competition, so it's now down to Stoneham and Nixon. Both riders looking fairly comfortable. 550 watts though from Stoneham there. Even more interestingly, in this same group we have Jury, Wales and Langan. Oh, and this is a surprise, at about 40 seconds ahead of them, Brown, clearly no longer with the front of the A and B group. Perhaps another mechanical issue. And here is the front of the group with Davis in with the pack as usual. With roughly 6 kilometres remaining in this race. Lancey's still in there, Tom's in there as well. Campbell riding well, still looking very strong. O'Brien and Empson, I'm sure, in this group as well. They will begin to think about the last few kilometres now and how they might possibly attack. If there aren't any attacks, it will be a bunch sprint as usual. Danes is in there. I was just about to say it looks as if Wales has been isolated, but that's not the case. He's actually in the front of this group. And there they are, just coming up behind him. This is a close competitive group. Also in there, Taff, Langan, Shannon. And I think overall they are still the second group on course. And I also almost forgot Stoneham. He is towards the back of this group, but still doing very well. Most of the group ahead of him are Bs, and here is Nixon. He seems to have lost the group. He's beginning to move backwards, but only slowly. I wonder if this is a temporary thing. But even further back in the field, Collier, and with him Hall, definitely not in contention for the Category C win, or in fact to even catch up with Stoneham at 17.6 kilometres into the race. About half a kilometre further back, Measham has found a few other riders which will make his job much easier from this stage. Lay about another 300 metres behind that. Jones 20 seconds further back. And quickly back to the front of the race, just about to finish and in slow motion as they're moving so quickly. Tom, Davis and Danes all crossing the line in 29.04. Campbell and Empson in 29.05. O'Brien in 29.07. Lancier comes in 29.54, somewhat further behind. 700 metres before the finish with Shannon at the moment, and in this group Brown, Jury, Langham, Taff, Wales, as far as I can see. There is Langham sitting towards the back of the group, but Stoneham sitting right behind him. A great result from him so far. The downhill section, you can see the group there on screens quite spread out, so about 2 seconds from the rear of that group right up to the front. And here is the sprint for the finish in this group. Jury. These riders are all together. It's virtually impossible to separate them. Next rider to cross the line after this group is Nixon, but he's about 2-3 minutes further back. And just behind him, Collier and Hall. It looks as if Collier is managing to pull away from Hall just by a fraction of a second or so. In fact, 1 second approaching 2 seconds. So unless Hall does something spectacular, Collier is going to take this win over Hall. And 2 minutes further back, Tamsin crosses the line. And about 10 seconds behind her, Measham in his first Cat B race. I think a great result for him, even though he ended up riding much of it by himself. Here he comes now towards the finish. And crosses the line in 35.33. Last rider on course tonight is Jones, crossing the line in 37 minutes. So let's have a look at the results for this evening's race. 2 non-starters this evening, Littlewood and Mayhew Smith. 1 retirement with Lisa. Overall winner Matt Tom for Category A, but only just. Certainly a very competitive race this evening, with the first 5 riders all crossing the line within a second of each other. Those riders with their time shown in red are those that were slower than the same ride on the 18th of June, and those in green are the ones that were faster. Another win for Stoneham in Category C. In fact, he is approaching the levels required for Category B, so he may well be upgrading soon. And I think a great performance for Measham for his first ride in Category C. But I think rider of the evening must go to Stoneham. Not only a win for him, but within a second or two of overtaking some of the supposedly much faster Category B riders. Thanks very much for watching. Next race is on Monday evening.